So without further ado, please help me welcome to the stage with a warm round of applause. Right here in Belgrade, you've made a long trip, and we appreciate that. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome to the stage Dr. Christina Yan Zhang. Come on up.
Thank you so much.
Doctor, last time I saw you was in Dubai?
Yeah,
right?
I enjoyed it.
You've been following the Tomorrow Conference almost everywhere so far. We appreciate it.
Because you guys are the future, that's why I'm here.
All right. Well, the stage is yours.
Thank you. Let's make a start. So some of the people will tell me that the metaverse is a new reality, but actually we all know it's nothing new. The whole idea was coined by Neil Stephenson in 1992 in the book Snow Crash. Probably many of you have already seen. And that was 40 years already. And the world's first metaverse platform is called Second Life. Anyone remember that? Raise your hands. Oh, a lot of you. And you might remember at that time, Second Life is really the buzzword, which means the future of the internet. And I still remember there is a lady called Anshi Chen who became the first virtual millionaire by making profits entirely generated in the virtual world. And she have a nickname called the Rockefeller of Second Life by CNN. So when we're talking about lots of interesting things nowadays, generated by blockchain, crypto, etc., actually that already happened 20 years ago. I was very lucky. I started the journey a little bit early in 2006 at Loughborough University in the UK when I was doing my master's dissertation using Second Life to develop international strategies for universities worldwide. And then, very luckily, I got a full scholarship to continue my research using digital twin in the metaverse environment to simulate for the construction industry. But at that time, I feel really lonely. Why? Because very few of people understand what I was talking about. And some people even saying, how on earth did you get a full scholarship playing computer games every day? And I have to explain to them that it's not a computer games, it's really the next generation of the internet. But still, some people still give me a nickname. They said, you got a permanent head damage, which means PhD in the metaverse. So, but I'm very grateful for all of you here today, because no one is saying that I'm crazy. And that's why I think when people are telling you that the metaverse is dead, crypto is gone, or NFT is gone forever, you can just tell them to say, shut up, it's not yet there. We can come back. Of course, because technology, they're always going around in cycles. Even for AI, they have going through 2 rounds of winters throughout their developments. So how we can really using tech to make our world better, provide value for our clients, that's the key. So as I mentioned, what we've been through in the past 2 years is already the second wave. And as I mentioned, there's always this kind of hype. But what's really happening now is you see a whole new range of technology really coming together to form the next generation of the internet. Whether it's AI, it's crypto, it's blockchain, it's even quantum computing. And they're all coming together, so that's really interesting. Okay, let's talk about generative AI. You probably remember that some people will argue the year 2022 is the year of metaverse. And things seems to be developing really well, and we see lots of different reports. For example, Citigroup saying the metaverse is going to be $13 trillion by 2030, a lot of money. And all the big companies, they are jumping in space to try to invest more. But everything seems to suddenly change since the arrival of ChatGPT in November last year. So they seem to suck in all the oxygen and excitement about metaverse away from us. So as I mentioned, is metaverse really dead? Perhaps not. The reason I'm saying that is, if you have a look on the different categories of metaverse developments, I'll say there are mainly 3 different categories. The first category is very much consumer-facing metaverse environments. So that kind of gaming and also try to provide socializing. That part seems to be a little bit low at this moment as a result of high inflation rates and also energy crisis. So people try to cut spendings across every single part of their life at work, and entertainment is a major part for spending cuts. And the second category is enterprise solution. So a lot of things are being doing around the digital twin, especially enterprise digital twin. So you can see that both Microsoft and NVIDIA are doing a lot of really interesting work within that space. And I think NVIDIA seems to be all in on digital twin. And you probably see how they are helping BMW, our amazing sponsor today for the conference, to streamline their worldwide operation for more than 50,000 workers, as well as in 20 different factories, to really optimize the whole process. And amazingly, they achieved more than 20% efficiency than not using digital twin. So there is a lot of really strong user case in that place. And of course, I think the third area is actually less talked about, is mainly using by defense and the military. So we all know that the US Army has been developing their own metaverse for military training since 2017, and they have been producing really tangible results. And we all know as technology experts, if any technology is really utilized by defense and the military purpose, it's very solid. So I wouldn't say it's dead yet. And of course, on the top level, if you pay attention, there is a whole range of UN-related agencies that are looking at metaverse even after the arrival of ChatGPT. So you can see, last year in November, the Office for United Nations on counterterrorism, they're looking at how to create a regulatory framework to prevent any terrorism and crime within the metaverse. It's the same with Interpol. They have been setting up different expert groups looking at how to tackle issues, say, dark web. I'm sure all of us had heard a lot about that. And if they also want to develop their metaverse moving forward, how we can ensure that's safe and secure, right? That's 5% of the internet we're accessing now. And of course, everyone knows one really important issue about metaverse and any kind of digital economy is about the intellectual property rights. And this is especially crucial because when generative AI starts to create large number of contents in a way which never happens before, who really owns the IP, right? Is that the person, the scientist who actually trained the AI to create the content, or would that be the company who employed the top scientist? Or it should be the creative person who are using the generative AI app to create their work. There is not so much clear definition now, so I was very lucky to be participating in WIPO, the World Intellectual Property Organization's high-level event in March this year, looking at how we can work with governments worldwide and different UN agencies to set up efficient regulatory framework to protect IP rights within the metaverse environment. And a similar things has also happened with another important UN agency, which is called International Telecommunication Union. For a lot of us who are here today, you might remember they helped to set up a large number of technological framework from cybersecurity and machine learning, etc. So they actually set up a dedicated working group to looking at how we can really efficiently promote a very collaborative international framework on the standardization of technical requirement on metaverse to ensure it's sustainable, inclusive, and accessible. So I guess if you have anyone come to you and said, metaverse is dead, you can see all the amazing things done by different UN agencies. And of course, different countries, they are also doing that. I can tell you, I was in Jordan recently. Have you been to Jordan? Some of you. I can tell you, you probably see the movie, Indiana Jones, The Pursuit of the Holy Grail. You remember that? And that massive temple was in Jordan. It's called Petra. And I was there. And their technology minister said they are going to put several hundred millions of investments into Metaverse. That's Jordan. We all know their economic situation is probably in the middle, not necessarily top in the Middle East, but they are prioritize this. And also the Finnish government, I don't know if we have any friends from Finland today, but I think in April alone, they launched the national strategy about Finland, which are very promising. So I think if government, UN agencies are still trying to put priority in the space, they probably see the future. So the future, I would say, 3 to 10 years from now. So that's why we should still stick around, because it's not about who are the early adopter. It will be the ones who find the right business model, the right angle to really scale. That's why we need to be there and try to seize the opportunity. And of course, we talk a lot about generative AI, as I mentioned before. You can see, even AI, they go through two kinds of winters. And the first one is in 1974, when there is a gentleman published a paper talking about all the previous huge investments into the AI didn't achieve any kind of ideal results. And the immediate reaction is the UK government paused all research funding to AI for about 7 years, which was really bad. And the same thing happens again, I think, in the 1990s, where another report published and basically questioning why we're spending so much money into AI, where the result is just not ideal. It sounds like similar. It's also happening to the metaverse now. So it just takes time. And of course, a lot of excitement about generative AI as we experience, it really allows you to have input a simple text. It gives you very interesting answers, right? But now the focus seems to be shifting from text to images, or text to videos, or even text to 3D model. I think that's why the whole generative AI thing starts to get extremely interesting to do with metaverse, because we all know it takes a lot of time to try to populate the metaverse, whether it's text, video, or it's 3D objects, digital assets, etc. And this graph is actually from Sequoia, and everyone knows it's one of the world's leading investments VCs. So what they are saying at this moment is the next stage of generative AI happening throughout this year is going to be how to create text to 3D models. So I can predict with great confidence, maybe in the next 1 year or two, we can have a situation where it's text to digital twin or text to metaverse. Imagine when that happens, the cost of generate metaverse, which are scalable on a global scale, can be much, much cheaper and much, much faster, and will be quite easier to optimize. So that will be quite cool. I think some of the most interesting developments take place in recent months. There are a few I really want to draw your attention. The first one is from NVIDIA. So what they have been doing is they were looking at text to images, but the quantity of text to images is not 1-to-1. It can be 1 to hundreds or 1 to thousands. So that can be quite powerful. Another thing is we are always struggling to have high resolution of really realistic human avatars generated so far. But as you can see, one of the San Francisco-based startup, they made a major announcement in the past 2 months, and they can have text to high resolution, realistic human avatar generated in very quick turnarounds. So we are no longer worried about having an avatar look like some kind of Lego moving around in really clunky ways. That's less exciting. And the third area, if some of you have been working in the gaming industry for a while, you know to generate text from human movements is the most challenging things that will be achieved. But now, with the help of some scientists based in Israel, so the University of Tel Aviv, they have been able to actually produce a new language model using text into vivid human animation. There are movements. You can say, give me a kick. they will give you many different scenarios of how this motion will look like. So I think there are a lot of advancement in the space, which gets the whole space really exciting. Of course, you might remember, in October last year, Google announced this really amazing Dream Fusion, where you can say, give me a squirrel, and then it will give you a lower resolution squirrel produced probably in about 2 hours' time, which is already quite cool. But the space is moving really fast. Only 3 months later, in January, NVIDIA, as we mentioned before, in November, they are still doing text-to-images in thousands, in hundreds. But now, only a few months later, now they created this Magic 3D app, which means they can have simple text into high-resolution 3D models. But the time they spend to generate that is only 40 minutes. That's half than Google 3 months ago. Imagine if we have this kind of growth every 3 months or every 2 months on pretty much exponential growth. That's why I'm saying the possibility of having text to high-resolution digital twin with really realistic human avatars and potentially motion capturing will really be game-changing moving forward. And of course, generative AI is having a massive, a global impact worldwide, as you can see. We're talking about $14 billion this year, and it's going to grow into $200 billion by 2032. So that's 14 times over 10 years period, very significant. If we combine that with the economic impact predicted by Citigroup, so they're talking about having total addressable market estimates for $13 trillion with 5 billion active users. If we combine those two different elements together, maybe it will take us much quicker to get that economic impact way before 2030. So in that regard, generative AI, instead of is competing against Metaverse, they are actually going to be one of the major supporter to accelerate the whole process and make our life easier. So the way forward, quantum computing. No surprise, right? Why do I so fascinated about quantum computing? I remember reading an article 3 years ago by a report by Intel, and the senior leaders there said, in order to reach the full potential of the metaverse, we need at least 1,000 times more computing power. So where do we get all those computing power? We currently can't really support that. So quantum computing could potentially offer that solution. Why? Let's have some look of the statistics. You may remember in 2019, Google made a big announcement and saying that they have achieved quantum supremacy. And what that means is they developed a quantum computer which is 158 million times faster than any existing supercomputer. Just to give you an idea, using that computer to do calculation, normally it will take 10,000 years, and now it only takes 4 minutes. So that's the significant breakthrough. And also, you might remember last year, when we had the announcement of the Nobel Prize in Physics, I was extremely excited because the 3 scientists you see here, they got the award as a result of quantum entanglement. Some of you may have heard about this idea before, because traditional computing is in a state of 0 and 1. But quantum entanglements can allow you to have a superposition in between 0 and 1 for multiple times at the same time, simultaneously. That means we will be able to have even more powerful computing power in the future, which is magnificent. So that's why the American President Joe Biden visited IBM in New York, one of the world's largest players for quantum computing research and commercial organization, and praised their $20 billion investment in the space, and believe that this is going to help America to assume a leader position in quantum-related technology. And of course, the CEO of IBM made an announcement recently in World Economic Forum talking about the commercialized quantum computing could potentially be available by 2030. So 2030 is going to be a very important year for Metaverse and generative AI moving forward. This is going to be very controversial. I was just finished a Twitter space talking about how quantum computing can be used for digital twins with the father, Dr. Michael Greaves, who coined the term digital twin in 2002. And he's very worried that the data center we are using every day for any kind of digital transformation, especially for simulating high-resolution metaverse, is not environmentally friendly. Of course, there are lots of debate because we know the European Commission spent 150 million euro to create a digital Earth to simulate environment change and how we can combat like extreme weather worldwide. That's helping the environment. But there is not yet a global analysis to say using quantum computing to optimize the different data to prevent climate change versus the big data center we're creating worldwide, how that's going to offset each other. So we need to do that quite urgently. And I'm very delighted that we actually already have a solution. You might remember in February this year, there is an article published by Nature magazine, the top level of academic research in the world. They're talking about the US, Japanese scientists have coming together to figure out a way to use non-radioactive nuclear fusion to create clean electricity of the future. And if that can be implemented at scale, it's going to power the whole planet by 100,000 years. So everything will be sorted. We don't need to worry about climate change anymore because that's carbon-free emission. How wonderful. This is another headline news. Godfather of AI, Dr. Geoffrey Hinton, age 75, resigned last week from Google, warning that AI could soon be smarter than human. Oh dear, that sounds a little bit too exciting to manage, right? So some people produce this graph, and they're looking at the singularity timeline, which means the intelligence of the machine will exceed the intelligence of human. And they say it started from 2023, this year now. And there is another really interesting timeline you see here. 2045, they said the machine intelligence will exceed the intelligence of all human beings on Earth. So that's maybe 12 years away. What should we do? Put the center of human beings. Everything we do to do with technology, we really want to ensure the well-being of human as a species, the sustainability of our planet, as well as the better development of our society as the central heart. So if we want to counteract that kind of really damaging situation, maybe, I think, why not use generative AI to analyze the videos, texts, and books of great intellect like Albert Einstein. And let's have a generative AI, Albert Einstein, and guide every single one of us, every organization, every country to say, if they are facing serious issue of climate change or energy consumption, how can we address that? Or maybe we can invite Alan Turing, the father of AI, to come back and say, if we have to live in a world in harmony with robots, which will be the best way moving forward? So I personally believe that if there is any issues, there are always more solutions. It's really up to us, human beings, to working together and using our intelligence, imagination to get things right. And achieve UN Sustainable Development Goals, of course. So I want to conclude my speech by quoting Rupert Murdoch. He said, "The world is changing very fast. Big will not beat small anymore. It will be the fast beating the slow." So let's do it together. I think we can achieve it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Doctor. We really appreciate it. We appreciate all the insight. What? Wow. I'm getting goosebumps, honestly. That's absolutely amazing.